Good Tuesday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Tuesday. I am your meteorologist, Peterson. Let's go and talk about the weather for your Tuesday evening going into your future. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? We will obviously be talking about. If I go and get there, we go. We will be talking about obviously our widespread showers and storms that will continue, especially obviously right now rainfall going on throughout that low country and midland area right now. Also the flash flooding. We will continue talking about the flash flooding. Cloud cover will continue, and then we will also be talking about the tropics because the tropics is also another huge area of concern as we move into going into this week, the end of next and the end of this week, going into early next week as well. So, have some stuff that we have to talk about. But first, before we even get to that, if you have not hit the like button or the subscribe button, you make sure you go in and do so. We are at 559 subscribers. We are 41 away from that main goal of 600. So let's go on and get there. So starting off to looking at the radar right now, we do in fact have some heavy rainfall right now that goes on all the way from Eastover, South Carolina through Manning, Somerton, Holly Hill, going through Ridgeville, Walterboro, and Hollywood, even going all the way down there towards Beaufort and Port Royal inside of South Carolina as well. Flash flood, warnings or flood warnings or river flood warnings are out. You even have some flood advisory over here, just to the south of Rock Hill. That was mainly just for pretty much to just streams, farmland, parks, greenways, boat access areas, and stuff like that. That's what they are talking about over there for flooding to continue. We also do have a flash flood warning out over here in western Walterboro, where we have roads that are closed throughout this region right here. So that is why we have flash flood warnings out. They said that gauge reports indicates water levels along Ireland Creek near Walterboro have risen to minor flood stage. So again, that has to do with rivers and creeks and streams and stuff like that over there near Walterboro. And then if you go on over here, where we have a flood advisory, where 1 to 3 inches of rainfall is expected in a short period of time for Riverland Terrace going into Folly Beach, going into Keel Island as well. And that's what they're looking for over there, right there, just to the west of Charleston. So that's it for our live updates for South Carolina. What's going on throughout the entire U.S.? We do have some rainfall right now going on in Georgia, as well as Florida and Alabama. Also inside of North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. We also do have some rainfall going on in Arizona and even New Mexico. Storm going on in Texas. And then rainfall going on over here inside of South Dakota and North Dakota, Minnesota getting in on some rainfall. And some tornado warnings are out over here inside of South Dakota. That is for Veblen and Clare City inside of South Dakota. And then also over here just to the south of Leola in South Dakota as well, as severe storms continue to move through there. And for the most part, the west is looking relatively okay. Just some shower activity going on up there in Montana. Now for our cloud cover, heavy cloud cover right now is going on. That is not a surprise. Cloud cover will continue. We do have a little clear spot over there near Myrtle Beach, going on over there towards Conway as well, and Loris, Georgetown maybe even included in there as well, just for that little clear spot. But everyone else remains cloudy. Going into our cloud cover for the future, you see that cloud cover will continue to just bolten up as we get into tomorrow morning. It's 7 o'clock in the morning when my morning forecast update comes out. Cloud cover is pretty much going to be taking a little bit of a patch in that western side and like the western low country, but everything else is going to remain cloudy. And then again, you may see some clear spots as we continue through the day, especially the more to the coast you get. But once you get into like tomorrow evening, for sure, cloud cover will for sure be taking a little bit of a toll throughout the low country, the southern Midlands as well, and even the PD. Now for current temperatures, Current temperature is 69 in Columbia as well as 67 in Newberry, 69 in Greenville as well as 74 in Aiken and Orangeburg, 78 in Somerville as well as 78 in Georgetown, 79 in Murrells Inlet as well as 79 in Myrtle Beach, 77 in Conway as well as 79 in Charleston. We also do have around 80 in Beaufort and Hilton Head Island, and even 57, or not 57, that's way too low, 67 inside of Greenville and Spartanburg, 68 in Clemson and Anderson, also 65 in York and Rock Hill. For low temperatures for tonight, 64 in Greenville as well as 63 in Spartanburg, 63 in Rock Hill as well as 64 in Newberry, 67 in Columbia, 69 in Orangeburg, 69 also in Barnwell, 71 in Walterboro as well as 75 in Charleston, 76 in Hilton Head Island as well as 73 in Georgetown, 74 in Myrtle Beach as well as 69 in Florence and Kingstree. Now for your precipitation, a good amount of rainfall is expected. A tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch is possible for Chirrah. Going into some other regions that is not included right now. Then also a half an inch to an inch is possible from places like Columbia, going into Kingstree, going into Aiken, going into Greenville and Spartanburg. Rock Hill is included. Quarter of an inch to a half an inch from Dillon to Anderson to Lawrence to Greenwood and Charleston. Hilton Head Island is included. Half an inch to an inch also over there for Georgetown and Myrtle Beach. And then maybe even the possibility for an inch to an inch and a half from Moncks Corner going into Sumter. And then that's also some of the other regions that I see. And then no main region that you can see on the map really gets past that inch to an inch and a half. But you can obviously see that some regions that are not highlighted that can definitely see maybe even an isolated 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. I mean, as we just saw down there near James Island and Kiowa Island, 1 to 3 inches of rainfall is expected in a short period of time down there, which is why they have minor or a flood advisory out. And that's expected for a good amount of regions as well. Now, don't look just at the exact location. You probably want to just take a generalization. Also, keep it in effect that you might see more rainfall than you actually see on the map. And that's just because thunderstorms are obviously unpredictable and they could be a lot more heavier than we think. So the main total that you might see for at least your general area might actually be a bit higher. Now for the SPC outlook, this was the latest one that we have right now, and you can see that it's pretty much everyone in the state still has a chance for a thunderstorm, even though most of that rainfall is gone. Especially like in the northern Midlands, central Midlands, and then even also over there in the PD, but it's making its way there slowly. Thunderstorms are still possible, and if you go into tomorrow, same thing. Thunderstorms are possible again tomorrow for the entire state, and Thursday as well. Thunderstorms are possible for the entire state, so make sure that you're watching for that, as thunderstorms with cloud to ground lightning is possible, gusty winds is possible with all these storms that can occur. Speaking of, we even had a severe thunderstorm warning that occurred down there in western Charleston County earlier, that started to make its way down towards downtown Charleston, but did not quite make it there. So that's just what these thunderstorms can do and what they're capable of. And that I believe that was one of the only ones, but you never can underestimate the thunderstorms that can occur, especially during the summertime. I have no idea what in the world just happened to this website, but one thing that I will say is I go on and get this up higher. We do, in fact, still have slight risk that goes in through tonight going into tomorrow. Slight risk of excessive rainfall that goes here from Walhalla, Clemson, and then a marginal risk that surrounds it for the entire upstate. The marginal risk is an isolated risk, while the yellow is a slight risk, which is a scattered risk. But for the most part, you can see that it encompasses most of the upstate. If you move over here towards the low country, you can see that isolated risk of severe weather continues over there for North Charleston, going into Charleston, to James Island, to Folly Beach, to Kiowa Island. That's expected. Also over there along the kind of going into eastern Charleston County as well. And then we also have a slight risk that goes from Beaufort going into Bluffton, going into Hilton Head Island, and even over there, we still have a marginal risk for Ridgeland. Now, if we go into day 2, we do, in fact, have another slight risk that takes over again most of, if not probably just most of the entire state. All the Midlands, the PD, all of the Low Country, all the Grand Strand has a slight risk of excessive rainfall, meaning scattered flash flooding is possible, and even parts of the upstate as well. The only place that does not have that scattered risk of flash flooding, just a isolated risk, is over here in the upstate. Anderson, Greenwood, Greer, Greenville, Spartanburg is included in there. That's for tomorrow, Wednesday, going into Thursday morning. Now, for Thursday morning, going into Friday morning, we have just another marginal risk of excessive rainfall, but this time it's for the entire Low Country, the Southern Midlands, as well as the pretty much most of, if not all of the PD, and definitely all of the Grand Strand as well. This is for Thursday going into Friday. Now going into day 4, it's actually pretty much just the same thing. It just includes just most of the Low Country and then the PD Grand Strand. This is for Friday going into Saturday, and then Saturday going into Sunday. We also, again, just have this marginal risk of excessive rainfall for the eastern Low Country and then the Grand Strand PD region and the eastern PD region as well. So flash flooding is still on the table, but you can see it's slowly starting to make its way out of here. It slowly is. You start off with a lot going into tomorrow, and then you just slowly start to see it recede more and more. So for the most part, definitely the day that needs to be watched the most, obviously, is tomorrow. And the other days can increase as well. But for right now, this is the most intense day, is tomorrow. Now for our models. So we're going to start off here at 9 o'clock p.m. And we're just going to go in and push our way forward, starting off here at 9 o'clock p.m. You can see that rainfall, shower, thunderstorm activity that's going on in the Low Country still going on, seeing some isolated to scattered shower activity in the Midlands and the Upstate, but not much. Once you get to around 12 a.m. at midnight, shower and thunderstorm activity still is continuing on throughout parts of the Midlands as well, and all that rainfall that we're looking at starts to move its way into the Williamsburg and Georgetown County, but it's not as widespread as we see it right now. Now, from 1 a.m. going all the way to 2, 3, 4 a.m., that shower and thunderstorm activity actually starts to move north up into the upstate of South Carolina by around 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m., and that's where it kind of lingers for a little bit, while the lower or the eastern half of the state sees a bit of a drier start instead of just a lot of rainfall activity. And then look at noon tomorrow. Noon tomorrow actually looks a lot drier and just a lot better overall. And by the time you get to around 1 p.m., still stuff isolated, but it's not bad. Now, once you get to 2 p.m., that kind of changes a little bit up there in the upstate. It starts to get a little, you start to get like some linear showers and storms move through, and then you really start to see it start to form all together by the time you get to around 2 to 3, maybe even to around 5 p.m., especially over there in the PD region. Low Country really starts to get their act together in the evening time. And then 12 o'clock in the morning, we might not have a single drop of rain. That's like the first time in a while that we've seen this, to where no one's getting any sort of rainfall going into tomorrow night. And just continuing through, you get to around 5 to 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning, still isolated shower activity going on, but a lot less widespread. Even into the afternoon, just a lot less widespread. So a break is coming in terms of just not as widespread, but it is still going to be raining for some spots. So still keep that umbrella hand on your person as you just continue through like the next 48 hours or so. So that's it for the short-term future. Let's go on now and talk about the long-term. The long-term future. So we're going to start off here at the 48-hour mark. Just continue to push this forward right here. You can see that it stays active as we get all the way into around August the 10th, and this is where still excessive rainfall could still be occurring. And just, you can see the big storm over there to the south and east, or on the bottom right side of your screen. But we're just going to push that back real quick. We're going to get back to that in a second. But just active activity continues. And then there goes that storm over there. That's too far out still. That's still, 10 days out. So, we still can't say for sure. But I will say that we are now under the 10-day mark to see if it will form or not. And we'll talk about the tropics as well. But in terms of, August the 15th, that's 10 days out. So we don't know if it will quite make it to there or not, but kind of just slams over towards North Carolina and then kind of just takes its way away from us. So, probably gusty winds, probably rip currents, but not really too bad if this scenario right here occurs. Now, obviously, there's a lot more scenarios, like from the Euro, which says that it's not really going to be anything over to where we are. You have to probably go to like the Atlantic view to see it, but you see that there's not that one's not showing anything. I can actually see it over here on the right side of the screen. But back to the GFS though. So there it goes up there, but just that rainfall and active activity continues all the way through into the last portion of August. So August just like in a whole is looking a lot more active than previous months, for example. Now, we've had some breaks in previous months, and obviously we will have some breaks in August, but you're not really seeing too much. And again, this is low resolution, and the more further you get out, the less accurate it's going to be. But it just looks like it's just going to be very, very active. That's it for our long-term future. I do want to talk about the temperatures real quick, because obviously we have our cool down going on right now, and you can see that those cool temperatures continues as we move all the way through, all the way through to August the 9th, going into August the 10th as well, August the 11th. But then once you get to the 12th and the 13th, that's when our hot air returns. So we have about one more week left of these cooler than average temperatures. Still, warm, but definitely cooler than average, but it'll get right back to being warm. And you can actually see, this cold air over here in the Atlantic, which is kind of cool to see, but that's where the actual quote-unquote hurricane would be at if this was correct. But you can see all the cool air with it as well, and just how much cooler it is over here than it is, in other portions of the ocean. But that's going to just continue through, and we're going to remain just above average. Now, you will see some cool downs in some spots, and maybe potentially some more cool air pushing in towards the end of August. Again, that's over 300 hours, almost 400 hours out, so we're going to continue to just keep an eye, but maybe a cool down at the end of August is possible. But that is it for our long term. Let's go on now and talk about the tropics in depth now. Obviously, we were talking about Tropical Storm Dexter for the past couple of days. Again, that one has no threat for South Carolina at all. That is moving to the north and east. If we continue on to talk about the other regions, though, Disturbance 1, this is right off our coast. A weak surface trough located several hundred miles off the coast of the southeastern United States is producing scattered showers and thunderstorms. An area of low pressure is expected to develop from the system over the next day or so, and environmental conditions appear generally favorable for additional development. A tropical depression could form by the latter portion of this week or this weekend as the low starts moving slowly west but turns more north by this weekend. So, for the most part, and if you even go on and look at the model that I just showed you earlier, you didn't really see that storm too much, and that's because models have been, at least this one, has been kind of pulling it back a little bit more. They've been kind of, pulling back the intensity a little bit more than they have been, seeing it. But I can assure you that the energy is still there. It's just not as prominent as it was earlier. Even that one and the Euro as well, just not showing to be as prominent as it was like a couple of days ago when we saw it. So that one might that's a boom or bust thing right here. It might turn into something, it might not. And the models are kind of leaning towards not really doing much. But earlier, obviously, it was. So that's all I can really say for that one. That one, doesn't really have any model activity with it since it's not an invest yet. But Disturbance 2, which is honestly the next concern thing, it says a tropical wave over the far eastern tropical Atlantic is currently producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions are forecast to be conducive for gradual development during the next few days, and a tropical depression could form later this week or over the next weekend as the system moves generally west to westward across the central tropical or subtropical Atlantic. So no chance of this forming during the next 48 hours, but a 50% chance of forming over the next 7 days, and also this one as well has a 10% chance of forming over the next 48 hours and a 40% over the next 7 days. So this one overall, the one over here on the right, disturbance 2, has the overall better chance of forming over the next 7 days, but in terms of the next 48 hours, that's why I'm saying this one's more of a near-term thing, just because it has a higher chance. And it's also already in that region, the X, which is actually the low pressure, is already in the area already, while this one down here is not yet. But that is it for our tropics update. I mean, there's nothing else really too much that we can say about it, except for we just are going to continue to watch this. There's no drought monitor tonight, so we're going to go in and just look at the crazy score out of 38 for tonight. 38 for tonight. Noticeable weather conditions still, such as moderate rainfall / heavy rainfall. Minor storms as well. Gusty winds, still possible with any thunderstorm that can occur. And obviously flood that's still going on right now, rather be river flooding or flooded roadways or flooded creeks or flooded streams or anything like that. So that's why we're at the 38. As we move on now, let's go ahead and talk with the live chat. Go ahead and talk about with the live audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us at 9. Yes, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. But one thing, actually, before we go on and get this started, we've had 25 people tune in. I have no idea why we only have 11 likes. If you have not hit the like button yet, make sure you're going to do so. There's been 14 people that have tuned in and just have not hit the like button at all. So please make sure that you go on and do so. I'm starting off here with Mr. Chris, who says, good evening, everyone from Moncks Corner. We have a thunderstorm happening as we speak. Good evening to you. And thanks for that weather update as well. McTolliver says, more rumbles. We had some pretty severe thunder and lightning this afternoon. I am sure one struck close to my house. I sure wish cooler weather would stick around. Well, one thing that I will say, first off, thanks for the update over at your house. But also, you just got to enjoy the cooler weather now, just because obviously that heat will be coming back. Yes, it could obviously stick around more if it wanted to, but we're almost there. We are almost there for the people that like the cooler weather. You're almost there. You just got to get to next month, and at least maybe, I don't know exactly when next month is going to start getting back into those. Oh, it's going to be daytime highs back in the 70s, daytime highs back in the 60s, that just, whenever it happens, it will happen. My cousin Cheryl says, good evening, weatherman, hope all is well. Good evening, everyone in Philly today. The weather was quite iffy. Some people could hardly breathe. So to my favorite weatherman, I love you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for that and for that weather update in Philly as well today. As, yes, wildfires up there in Canada for sure are bringing down that air, and we'll talk about the Philadelphia forecast and the haze and that stuff. Ms. Oliver said I should do the bus stop weather. I can do that. It just would determine on what time. But I can go in and do that real quick. If I go on over here, 0Z, this is around 7 a.m. So, we'll just start off with actually, we'll do 6 a.m. We'll do 6 a.m. first. And again, it's not obviously what the radar looks like right at that time, because this is obviously a simulation, so things will be different. But this is, possibly what's going on. Widespread rain up there in the upstate. In the low country, dry. In the Midlands, relatively dry. And then in the PD region, relatively on, I'd honestly say kind of like mixed. It just matters where you are. So you just got to get lucky. 7 a.m., still widespread in the upstate. Midlands, low country, and the PD is drying off. 8 a.m. and then 9 a.m. kind of the same thing, but the upstate gets a little bit more on the cooler, cooler, yes, but a bit more on the kind of drier side. And I already talked about, the low temperatures for right here. This kind of will go into the morning, and I was saying that the upstate will be getting cooler, because it definitely is cooler than it is, for example, down there to, like I said, in the low country and in the PD and Grand Strand region, to where it'll be up into the 70s, for example. So that's just, if you wanted to know that. Thank you so much for requesting that, so we can go on and get that talked about. So that's it. So I'm going to say there. Thad says, good evening, Cousin Joseph. Good evening to you. I trust all is well. It was a nice one. It was a nice warm one here today. Well, thank you so much for that weather update. All is well. Mr. Chris also says, also remember that it is still hot. Remember to stay hydrated and take breaks. That is 100% right. High temperatures today, at least for my older weather station, still says it was 93 degrees. If I go on and look at my newer one, it said that high temperatures reached 88, so that's a 5-degree difference. I kind of lean more towards the newer one. So I say, it was around 88 at my house. So yes, that is still hot. That is still hot. I believe it still felt like almost close to 100 degrees today, if I read that correctly earlier today. Unless that was another day, but I believe that was today. It still felt like close to 100 degrees, obviously with that humidity still high. Amanda says, hello, Jay, raining and a lot of thundering going on right now. Thank you so much for that weather update. Hello to you. Trey also says, greetings, everyone. Sleepy tonight, one eye open and one eye closed. Long day. Well, I'm glad that you were here with us tonight. Mr. Oliver says, drought update should be interesting on Thursday. I do agree. The drought update comes on Thursday. I will say what I believe the drought monitor will look like tomorrow evening. And you guys should start getting y'all's predictions ready as well, because we'll have the poll out on Thursday, and then what you just think it will be. Mr. Chris then also says, please remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button to the channel to help it grow and help others by also sharing. That's also true. You also hit the share button as well. Share it with all of the people that you know. Mr. Oliver then comes back and says, all of this rainfall has caused the Canadian geese to flock to my yard. They leave a ton of gifts behind that I would have to hose away out the driveway. I wish they would leave. For now, I'd say that it is going to remain like that for the rest of August. So, unfortunately, you might still have to keep on cleaning it off. But it is getting hotter. It will get hotter next week. So, maybe that might kind of deter them a little bit. Trail said I kept my appointment this morning. That's great for the update. And then also, Mr. Chris says, I wind just picked up here in Moncks Corner with heavy rainfall. And on the models, which one is more accurate, the GFS or Euro? It just determines on the situation. Either one is not really more accurate than the other. It just matters on which one just is more right, just in that case. So there's not really a more accurate one or a more non-accurate one. But I might look it up real quick just to see. Just to see what everyone else says on it. Thad says, did you get the picture that I sent? Yes, I did get them. We'll show them after we're done talking about San Antonio, Raleigh, Philadelphia, and Duncan. And then what is a hygrometer? I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of that before. A hygrometer, I believe it says, is an instrument that measures, so it just measures humidity, which I thought that was something else, but I've never heard somebody say hygrometer before. But yes, it's something that measures humidity. So now that is out of the way, we have a huge chat tonight, probably one of the biggest chats that we've ever had, unless we had another one maybe on a fan of the month night, or if we had one on, just a week or a monthly forecast night. I'm not quite sure, but I think this is probably one of the biggest live chats that we've had so far. But going on now, let's talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina, that being San Antonio, Raleigh, Philadelphia, and Duncan, Oklahoma. Starting off first with San Antonio, with low temperatures tonight 76, high temperatures tomorrow at 98, and low temperatures tomorrow night at 77. No precipitation is expected tonight or tomorrow. There is indeed no threat for any sort of severe weather. Again, no threat for any sort of severe weather at all. And in terms of excessive rainfall, there is indeed no threat for excessive rainfall either. So you are good. Raleigh being the next location. You have low temperatures tonight, 67. High temperatures tomorrow at 77. And low temperatures tomorrow night at 68. Chance of rainfall tonight. Showers are likely, though, tomorrow and tomorrow night. And there is a minor risk of flooding tonight. Tomorrow, you actually have a chance for some scattered flash flooding tomorrow. And then some minor flooding possible on Thursday. For severe weather, you do not have any threat for any sort of severe weather as you move into, I'm waiting for it to load up right nice and quickly. Also, not for tonight and then for the future as well. So we are good in terms of severe weather. For Philadelphia, low temperatures tonight 69, high temperatures tomorrow 84, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 67. No precipitation tonight, a haze is also in effect. Obviously, that is for the Canadian wildfire smoke that's going on, and obviously the bad air quality outside over there for just Pennsylvania and the Northeast just as a whole. And then no precipitation is expected though as you move through tonight or tomorrow. No severe weather is expected either, and then in terms of excessive rainfall, there is no excessive rainfall that is expected. And then finally, for the last location for now, Duncan right now, low temperature at 71, high temperature tomorrow at 97, and low temperatures tomorrow at 74. There is no precipitation that is expected at all tonight or tomorrow. And then in terms of severe weather, there is no severe weather that is expected. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, no excessive rainfall is expected either. But hold on. We have one more location that we do have to talk about. I did not make a thing for it yet. But I did get a request from someone to do a forecast for Charlotte, North Carolina, just for, temporarily. There's nothing for the long term for that. So it probably will only be for about a week or so. But let's go on and talk about that area as well. With low temperatures tonight, 64, high temperatures tomorrow at 73, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 65. There is indeed a chance of some rainfall tonight, as showers are expected tonight. Showers are likely tomorrow, and you will have some patchy fog as well as you go into tomorrow morning. And then also for tomorrow night, there is a chance of thunderstorms as you move into tomorrow night as well. Now, for excessive rainfall, you do in fact have a chance tonight, and then also a scattered risk for tomorrow. And then after that, that's it for excessive rainfall. And then severe weather being the last one, with, again, no severe weather. Same thing with Raleigh. Nothing going on there. And that's it for those locations. So, what's going on throughout the entire U.S. just weather news-wise? Extreme heat will begin to peak across the desert southwest. Multiple days of hot, dry, and windy conditions are expected to bring fire weather conditions for portions of Utah, Nevada, Colorado, Wyoming as well. Heat advisories are there for the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, as well as western Texas. Heavy rainfall and flash flooding threat continues in the southeast, especially in Georgia as well. Let me see, what else do we have? Poor air quality persists from the upper Midwest into the Northeast due to wildfire smoke. That's for like northeastern Minnesota, eastern Wisconsin, going into the UP of Michigan, and Michigan, Chicago, Indiana, northern Indiana, as well as northern Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, western Massachusetts, and Connecticut. So a lot over there for wildfire smoke is going on. Also down there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there is air quality alerts down there. Probably not from wildfire smoke, but probably just for some other thing. That's it, though, that I have to say. Let me check out the chat one more time. Mr. Anthony says, hello, everyone. Hello to you as well. Top fans for tonight, Mr. Chris does come back at number 1. Trail is number 2, and then Miss Tolliver is number 3. Congratulations to the 3 of y'all, even though it was very tight up there at the top. Very tight up there at the top, but Mr. Chris still goes and is number 1. That is all that I have to say, though, for tonight. If you did enjoy the forecast or found it informative, make sure you go and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. We are at 559, trying to get to at least 575 for the short term, just for a short term goal. 600, though, is the main goal, though. We are 41 away from that goal. So let's go on and get there. And again, please share it with everyone that you know. I will be back tomorrow morning with your Wednesday morning forecast update. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday.